Each of your body paragraphs must have at least one direct quotation from the play. Now, obviously, you're going to have more than one example from the play to support your ideas in each body paragraph, but you might choose to paraphrase rather than directly quote. But since you do have to have at least one direct quotation, I want to make sure that you know the conventions of quoting um, from a play in your essay. So when citing a play, give act and scene numbers followed by line numbers, all separated with a period. So after you cite the lines, you are going to have a parenthetical reference that's going to include the act number, the scene number, and the line numbers. And so in your book, you'll see the line numbers in the margins. So that's what all those little numbers are. If you noticed in my lecture videos that anytime that I quoted from the play, I followed this convention. So that's what goes in your parentheses, not the page number like it did with the short story, but the act, scene, and line numbers. For a play written in verse like Hamlet, you're going to incorporate 2 or 3 lines into your sentence like you would lines of poetry, using a slash mark to separate the lines. So throughout the play, the characters question whether the ghost is a friend or a foe. Initially, Horatio states that the ghost is a guilty thing upon a fearful summons. So here we have parts of some lines. Notice that the part I left out gets the ellipsis, and then at the end too, I add my quotation marks, act, scene, line number. If you're going to quote a longer quotation, that's more than 3 lines, you indent it with no quotation marks. So here's my introduction of my quotation. These are my lines. Notice that they are replicated exactly as they appear in the text. Then notice if you're integrating it within your sentence, the quotation, the period comes after the parentheses. If it's this block indented quotation, notice the period comes before the parentheses, and you're going to have act, scene, and line numbers. If you quote a passage in which more than one character speaks, and you might, you indent the dialogue and begin each part with the appropriate character's name. Make sure those names are capitalized, and then you will start the quotation. So here we have the ghost and Hamlet having a conversation. Here's the introduction of my quote. Notice I'm indenting here. And then the lines appear exactly as they do in the text. Act, scene, line numbers. As with short stories, ellipses are going to always indicate you're leaving all or parts of some lines out, as I'm doing here. And brackets show that you're adding or changing the original text. If you need to change the tense, if you need to add a clarifying word, just like you did with the short story, you're going to use the bracket. Often, too, it's easier to integrate a direct quotation if you just quote words or phrases rather than whole lines. So in this, we could say that the ghost is a quote-unquote guilty thing, and then be done with that. So let me know if you've got any questions about any of these conventions, and I will obviously be looking at this as I review your rough drafts, and if I see any problems, we will address them then as well.